What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about Ghost of Tsushima. I want to talk about if Sony doesn't care about this game, doesn't care about Sucker Punch. This is probably going to be a very touchy subject. So let me open it up by saying this. We're going to jump right into it. Let me start it off by saying this. I want Ghost of Tsushima to be the best game humanly possible. I think there's a lot of excitement, and people are kind of rallying together and are very excited about this game online. And it's kind of building where it feels like maybe they're more excited than Sony is about this game. But again, I want this game to be great. I'm a big fan of Sucker Punch. I'm a big fan of what I've seen so far of Ghost of Tsushima. Have I had my worries? Yeah, and I still do. I think all that stuff that I've said about it, and for those that have watched those videos, I'm standing by all the stuff I've said. But I don't want people to kind of get this confused. I want this game to be amazing. I'm getting this game day one. We're going to be, covering this game on this channel, all sorts of stuff, okay? So I'm not anti-Sony. I'm not anti-Ghost of Tsushima, but I'm also critical when I need to be. And in this case, I'm going to be critical of Sony. Because, again, I've been critical of Ghost of Tsushima. I still want to see more. They talked about it right in their final delay push where they said we're going to talk about more gameplay aspects very, very soon. Perfect. That's literally what I've been saying, right? Hasn't that been what I've been saying for the past couple months? I need something like that. Hopefully it's like a 10-minute dive into the world where we get to see, literally how the world works. That's what I want. I think that's what a lot of people want, and we'll have to see if they give it to us. But this goes into a larger issue with Sony, with The Last of Us, with Naughty Dog, all this kind of stuff. And again, if you guys have watched the channel, watched these videos over the past couple weeks and couple months, it's been insane. I don't know what's happened. It seems like Sony has had, and again, big Sony guy. Okay, I have the PS3, I have the PS4. PlayStation's my primary console. I love Sony, right? I want them to do good. I want them to basically just keep up what they had been doing. But it seems like ever since Shawn Layden left or was fired or whatever happened there, because we didn't really ever get an explanation to it. After Shawn Layden left and they didn't talk about anything, regarding him, it seems like Sony's had a very big lack of communication, a communication problem in general. And that kind of stems with the PS5, right? The controller, the system itself, like all that kind of stuff. I feel like they've messed that up. But you're seeing also like Naughty Dog may have some culture issues. Are they paying people full, their full salaries? Are they paying people bonuses? Again, what that guy did leaking The Last of Us is pathetic and garbage, and he should never be rehired anywhere in the gaming industry. He ruined a game for hundreds of thousands of people. I'm sure he truly did. But at the same time, there's a problem there. There's an absolute, if employees aren't getting their money or they're not being treated fairly, you have to wonder what's going on at Naughty Dog. And again, Naughty Dog's owned by Sony, so it becomes a question of do you go after the development team or do you go after the publisher who kind of watches over them? But in terms of Ghost of Tsushima, all right, well, we had this delay, right? The Last of Us Part 2, and we're going to go, this is the central thing. The Last of Us Part 2 was delayed, okay? It was delayed indefinitely, right, from May 29th, and it was delayed indefinitely. And we had multiple discussions on Podcast Now. What happens? And we were right. People that were siding with me, siding with my predictions, we were ultimately right. For whatever reason, they want The Last of Us Part 2 first. No matter, and when I say no matter what, I know a lot of people said in those videos, well, that's just not true, or you're just saying that to say. Well, look at what happened. Literally, it seems like no matter what, they want The Last of Us Part 2 to come out first. Because ultimately, they delayed both of these games for 3 weeks. Now, if you really think about it, it doesn't fit what happened. I haven't been a fan of the suggestion that The Last of Us Part 2 is coming out when it is right now because those leaks came out. Because the leaks came out Sunday, and then Monday they announced The Last of Us Part 2 is coming out June 19th, right? I'm not a big fan of saying that it's because of the leaks that happened. But because why wouldn't you do on June 26th? Why wouldn't you have Ghost of Tsushima's Day? But at the same time, why wouldn't you if you want to follow that argument, why wouldn't you have just put The Last of Us Part 2 out a couple weeks even earlier in the first week of June, or put it back where it was in May, right? But the thing with this is when the Last of Us Part 2 was delayed, Sony's reason and Naughty Dog's reason was it was a logistics issue, was that they didn't think they could print the copies, the physical copies, and ship them out to people. And here's the deal. I agree because you've seen Doom, you've seen Animal Crossing actually was safe, but like Doom, Final Fantasy VII, a lot of these games, they did not sell. They actually sold worse than their previous installment in the franchise physically. Okay, so physically, what's happened around the world did actually impact them. I said that it wouldn't. I said that overall sales may actually be higher, and I think digital sales for all of them did go up. We'll have to see if just in all their sales were even or their sales did increase. But no matter what, their digital sales went up, their physical sales went down. So I do believe Sony when they say, we don't want to lose those people, and we don't want to have this game come out early. We don't want to have people be playing this at different times. I believe all of that. I also believe if you're going to sell 15 million units of The Last of Us, you may sell 5, 7, 8, however many, but probably, let's say at least 5 million. If you sell 15 million units, 5 million, let's say at least, are going to be physically. And if you can't get those physical units out, you just lost 5 million people, right? Now, again, would all 5 million not get it? Is it only 5? So, there's a lot of, what ifs, but that's a big deal. So I do follow that. So they delay it. They delay it indefinitely for whatever reason. And, for the longest time, again, we said, do they push it or do they have Ghost of Tsushima? Do they push that and then just replace it with The Last of Us? No. Now instead, they have The Last of Us come out 1 week before Ghost of Tsushima, and then they throw Ghost of Tsushima off in July. So you're telling me, this is the biggest thing, Sony felt that it was not good enough, the environment of the world wasn't good to release a game physically on May 29th, but it is okay to release it on June 19th, just 3 weeks later. That's not all, 3 weeks is not all that much time. It just doesn't seem to add up. And over there, you have this game that I haven't even mentioned much in this video, which is funny because the video centers on it, but that's kind of the whole point, right? I've talked only about The Last of Us Part 2 in a Ghost of Tsushima thing because that's kind of how Sony has handled it. Sony has said, Ghost of Tsushima? What Ghost of Tsushima? It literally is a ghost because it's not there, because we can move it around. And also, again, I guess I could use the argument of what Sucker Punch has shown from it, that it doesn't really seem like they're all that confident of showing the game out, right? Because we don't have all that much info. I've said for the longest time, look, we're only 1, 2, 3 months, however many months at the time we are away from the game, and we still don't have enough gameplay, in my opinion. Because, again, they messed up with Second Son. I don't think they've earned our trust to say, oh, yeah, they're just going to make an amazing Ghost of, this game is going to be good. We can think that. I'm getting it day one. Different people can have different trust levels, too. I'm not saying you can't have that. But I think they just need to show more. Ultimately, that's where I kind of stand on it. I think they need to just show people a little bit more of how the game works. But they've definitely been, pushed back. They're the backup squad. It's no, it's The Last of Us Part 2, and then you, and maybe not even then you, you'll come out and that'll be it. But it's just really weird because it's kind of actually what I said in the beginning of the video is what I find very interesting about Ghost of Tsushima is this. It seems like as time, and this is also just from my channel, just from this channel, so it's hard to, I guess, judge it in a wider spectrum, but what's funny is as time has moved on, I feel like, from my perspective, Sony has cared less and less and less about Ghost, and it's kind of become more of we just need The Last of Us Part 2 out there. We're going to move Ghost if we need to move Ghost, right, to get The Last of Us out there. It's been more about that than actual Ghost of Tsushima, and at the same time, I feel like on the internet, people have only gotten more excited about Ghost. It's taken kind of a similar path to Days Gone. I'd say maybe slightly less, because if you remember, Days Gone, when it was first shown off, people were like, oh my God, it's amazing. And I said it too. I was like, well, I'm sold. Then it went dark for a while, like a year and a half, 2 years, however long it went, in dark for. And people stopped talking about it. And I remember on the internet, there was not a lot of love for that game. And people were very worried. People were very scared. People weren't excited. And then right when they started doing those developer diaries, so the game came out, in April of last year, right around maybe February when they started really pushing the game, or maybe whenever it was, January, February, all of a sudden it was getting these developer diaries are getting millions of views on YouTube, and people were like, oh my, they showed me, people were saying I just saw what I needed to see to sell me on this game. And okay, the game came out, it was good, it wasn't the greatest game. Some people love it, some people absolutely adore that game, some people hated it. I think generally you kind of settle on it was a solid game. got a lot of foundations that can lead to a better Days Gone 2. That's where I stand on it. But I honestly see a lot of parallels with that in Ghost of Tsushima. That Ghost of Tsushima, I feel like as the days, weeks, and months have progressed, people are getting more and more excited. And I've seen it with you guys in the comments saying like, "Hey, I'm not even," because I guess even from my perspective, like from the channel, from like what videos do good, stuff like that. Also, what thing comes out first, which would lead to more people watching. I'll tell you, I probably would focus on The Last of Us Part 2 first rather than Ghost. Again, it's a bigger name, right? It's a flashier name. It comes out first, so it's the closer game to releasing. That's just generally how I do it on this channel, right? We focus on the thing that's coming soonest, and then we get to, the thing that comes after, right? So that's just a little insight, obviously, of how the channel works. But even me, I would do The Last of Us Part 2 first. But again, what I've seen from you guys is, dude, I'm not even into Last of Us. Like I've always been in for Ghost, and I want Ghost more. And I've seen that in videos that I talk about both games at the same time. I see that sometimes the Ghost videos do better than. That's why ultimately every couple weeks I try and throw in a Ghost of Tsushima video, because I know people love it. I know people really like this game. So it's very strange, and it's honestly alarming. It's alarming for the reason that I don't think Sucker Punch has done a good job really talking. Maybe they did a good job when the game comes out, and that's another thing where it's like, if the game comes out and it's amazing, I may be mad because it's like Sucker Punch and Sony. By the way, Sony, the publisher, the one who controls the advertisements, you guys didn't push this game out. Nobody knows that this game is amazing and that it's even out yet, right? That happened with Until Dawn, right? Until Dawn had some stuff shown about it, but then it came out and it was like, it got like 8s. Pretty much it got like an 80 out of 100 average, but people adore that game. I adore that game. And Sony didn't push it at all. At all. It was awful. And so I honestly feel like it's the same thing for Ghost of Tsushima. The game may come out, it may be incredible, and we're all thinking, why didn't you push this game more? Like, because you were focused on The Last of Us, which in retrospect at that time, we could say, look how disappointing that was, right? So this is like July 17th, we're playing Ghost of Tsushima, it's amazing, and we're like, man, and the sales come out and they say, well, it sold well, it just didn't sell like spectacularly, and we said, well, you didn't push it, you focused on The Last of Us, which then you look back and you say, that game sucked, or that game look at how many people were divided about that game, right? They've had a lot of struggles. They've 1,000%. I want them to turn it around, because I don't like this about like the company that I like to support and I talk about a lot on this channel and just in my personal life. Like, I want things turned around. But what they've done with the PS5, and I know PS5's coming. They talked about there's going to be game reveals June 2nd, PS5 reveal probably in May. All this kind of stuff. That's phenomenal. And The Last of Us Part 2, I want to be amazing. I'm getting it day one. Ghost of Tsushima, I want it to be amazing. I'm getting it day one. But they've really not handled this entire situation well. And I'm glad that I feel like with you guys, we're starting to build a community where you're all kind of familiar with my approach on things, and we are becoming on the same boat, where maybe you don't agree with me, but you understand that like all we want to do is have if you're in it just to hate Ghost of Tsushima or hate The Last of Us Part 2 just to hate them, then we don't want you on this channel. Like, no, I don't, it's just a thing where it's unnecessary, right? If it's bad, I will call it out for being bad, but ultimately I want it to be good. I come from a perspective of I just want these things to be the best they can be. And then if they're not, then I'm going to call them out for it. But very interesting. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what do you think? Does Sony not care about Ghost of Tsushima with all of the kind of stuff that they've pulled basically to just not even talk about it, not care, focus more on The Last of Us Part 2? Do you think that's the case? Are you guys excited for Ghost of Tsushima? Let me know. Make sure, as always, you guys are subscribed, have that bell icon turned on, and we will be continuing our coverage of both these games. We have Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima videos today. We'll be covering both as we get closer to both of them. We'll be ramping up. We'll be having more videos on both these games when they come out. We'll be covering both of them. Be a really, really fun June and July. I think lots of games coming out in June and July that I'm very, very excited to cover. Okay, thank you again for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next video.